Hello, my name is Fandov Azike. Today, I will be talking on the subject title Electoral Fraud or Voters Fraud. Very, very important. If you really want to occupy position of public interest as a politician, you must take this very teaching very, very important. However, if today is your very first time of seeing my teachings, please consider to subscribe. When you subscribe, you will learn more of political education in a very practical viewpoint that are not taught in the classroom. You will also discover the instructions and ideas and principles of great men and women of all times. Do not forget to click the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new content, you can always get notified. Like the video, it will help, and as well leave to your comments. I can always attend to them. Without wasting much of our time, the subject matter, electoral fraud or voters fraud. To keep our mind prepared and focused, the greatest threat to constitutional right to vote is voters fraud. The greatest threat to constitutional right to vote is voters fraud. Now, what is voters fraud? When we talk about voters fraud, we are talking about the manipulation of the will of the people. We are talking about the subversion of the will of the people. We are talking of the abuse of the whole electoral process against the will of the people. We are talking about the malpractice involved or factored in the process of the whole electoral process. We are talking about the perversion of the whole process against the will of the people. We are talking about the corruption involved. And we are talking the favor done to a particular candidate against the other. All these things are called electoral fraud or voters fraud. The manipulation, the malpractice, the corruption, the perversion of the whole process against the wishes and aspiration of the people is called electoral fraud or voters fraud. Now, This electoral fraud or voters fraud takes different time and stages for them to perfect these frauds. They are done before the election, during the election, and after the election. So you watching me here as would be politician or a politician or a new neophyte in the system, understand that elections, these frauds are perfected before the election, during the election, and after the election. And in today's language, we call it what? Ringing. Elections are ringed before, during, and after election. They are all ringing is electoral fraud, is a voter's fraud. Now, the process where it is being ringed or committed as fraud before the election, one of them is called gerrymandering. It is a process where communities are demarcated or wards for electoral purposes. At this point, most time, members of the parliament or politician who is already in the corridor of power will influence this demarcation or boundaries for electoral process. They will manipulate it in such a way that this boundary will favor them in such a way that they will be producing what we call block votes. Such manipulation will make them to remain in power. This very manipulation will also make them to score high and as well make that particular constituency or ward or district a center for political attraction or a hunting ground or a stronghold for a political party or a political boss. So if you are not careful, this very manipulation at very level will continue to affect the entire results of that particular area, either to favor a particular political boss and a party, at the same time continue to affect the other parties negatively. It is known as gerrymandering. It's one of the way they can manipulate electoral results or voters fraud. Another area is vote buying. Yes, because of socio-economic challenges, which hunger, illiteracy, and host of other dominated such, politicians, even if you are the most acceptable candidate, if you are not in touch or on ground, vote buying is another area that electorates can sell out as a result of instant reward or as a result of their political illiteracy. Vote buying is another way political fraud can take that shape. Another one is called artificial results. Most times, voters frauds. The people that voted have done their own part. The people who also count the votes and write the results at this stage is very, very important. Angelic results can come in. Result and numbers can be doctored. So you need to be on ground to avoid artificial results. Result will be manipulated. In some part of the country in Africa, where democracy is still facing a lot of great threat, results can be manipulated. Angelic results. Very, very, very important. At the level of registrations, depending on the constitution of the land, some underage are also registered and as well voting during the election. It's also an electoral fraud. If you are a politician or you wish to occupy the corridors of power, you must start working before the election proper, because during the registration, electoral fraud, voters fraud is already put in place. The machineries are already on ground, whereby multiple registration, multiple voting, underage voting, and registrations, they are part of the electoral fraud. Very, very, very important. Another fraud is impersonation. People impersonate. As a result, impersonate officials, impersonate as voters, impersonate in all ramifications. All these are part of the voters' fraud. Vote voiding. They can as well void some valid votes. When somebody is leading, they can as well void by thumb printing multiple places, and that will invalidate such votes, that ballot paper. These are part of voters' fraud. If really, really you wish to become part or to participate in the electoral process as a candidate, you must work to prevent you being ringed out during election. If really, really, above all, the security. If security are not properly put in place, it is also part of the policy. And policy at this point is what the government or the commission is doing and what the commission is not doing. If security is not properly put in place, it is also a plan to rig the election. Thank you very much.